Nick with Push Industries. Today we're going to go over how to replace the chains and sprockets in your 47 and 54 inch snowblowers. These are a huge wear item, and it's not too hard of a job to tackle. We have a full kit, both sprockets, new chain, and a half moon keyway, and we're just going to give you the tips and tricks to get this done yourself. And here we are taking off the chain guard. On this other side here, it's a tighter fit, so we'll have to use a manual ratchet. All right, guards off. Next step will be loosen these 4 nuts, 2 up top, 2 on the bottom. They have carriage heads on them, and what this does is acts as a tensioner to keep your chain tight. So we're just gonna pop those bolts, and then we'll be able to remove the PTO from the chain. Yep, so what we had to do there is just slide it all the way forward, get tension off the chain, and then just work it off the larger sprocket. And then you will have this assembly here. So our kit is going to change out the sprocket here and the sprocket there. Next, we're going to take off the big sprocket by loosening those 2 set screws using a crescent wrench. One is on the shaft, one is on that key. Make sure your screws are nice and loose. Sometimes you will need heat to get those off. We're going to remove this PTO shaft. It's held on with a roll pin, so we have a little punch and a hammer, and we're just gonna pop that out. That roll pin is reused, so be careful. And now that PTO should pull off. Just like that. We're going to now remove all of these bolts around the collars. There's 3 there and 3 here, so we can get that gear out. Flip it over, hit the ones on the bottom. Whole assembly comes out. Now we're going to remove these bearing collars, set screw, and then they're gonna kind of quarter twist off. that side. We're gonna have to remove that half moon keyway. So if you have trouble getting it out, you can kind of use a flat blade, get it, move your hand, Pat. Yeah, so we're just gonna put that flat blade right in there and then just give it a little pop. Yeah, should come right out. At least get it nice and loose for you. And that other collar can come off. And so now we are ready to switch sprockets. Prior to getting ready to reinstall all the new parts, wanted to touch on these Fafner collar bearings. There are what's known as an eccentric collar bearing, and it's designed to help keep the collar and the bearing tightening against each other during their useful rotation. As you can see here, it's oblonged, like they have to lock together in order to work. If you're unfamiliar, it would be a good idea to do some research and just understand how these collars and bearings work together. It'll make your installation process a little bit easier. Again, it's a Fafner collar bearing. So the first step is getting this bearing and collar on the shaft. It's got it all lined up, and we're just gonna take that inner race and get it flush with the back side of that shaft. What that's gonna do is get our alignment correct. So we want, there's a little wiggle room there, but for the most part, wanna be flush. And then once we think we're flush, we're gonna tighten with the set screw. Our gear assembly is now ready to go back into the housing. At this time, you could install the chain if you wanted to, or you can still do it on this next step. Biggest thing is you do not want to forget to put your chain on, because you will not be able to put it on once you are complete assembling this. And the holes we are going to use are the round holes, not the square holes in those retainer plates. And we are just going to get everything kind of just roughed into place, bolts on, and we're going to wait to tighten them down until we get this plate onto that side. But prior to doing that, the chain will go on. Chain. See, we almost forgot. Don't need to worry about it getting it on the sprocket. We can do that later. We just need to make sure we get it around the shaft. Now again, we're going to use the round holes on the retainer plate. Want to make sure our collar is seated properly with that bearing. And then we're just going to get these roughed on as well. Start by tightening this side. Want to just double check, make sure our shaft is still sitting flush, nothing moved, and also kind of see how our sprocket is lined up. I don't think the camera's going to let me do it, but lined up with our old grease line. And want to make sure our collar is still seated on the bearing, and then we can tighten that set screw up. And again, if you're not familiar with how to use these collars, good idea, do some research, make sure you're comfortable prior to finishing the installation. All right, and we're gonna put this half moon key on. Might go in a little snug. Can always get it started and tap it with a hammer. Looks like maybe we don't even need to. Good to go. So we're gonna put our PTO shaft on. Gonna orientate it sideways like that so we can see the hole. Good idea to have a smaller little like punch. And you wanna be careful that you don't go too far, so your holes don't line up and then you have to start over again. Another little trick you can do is start with gently taking a hammer. Should be using a brass one, but start with this end a little lower, and then it'll kind of work it the rest of the way down as you slide it on. You can use the shaft as a ram, just don't go too far. Got our hole lined up, looks like. And then we're gonna reuse our roll pin. Kind of pay attention, one end might be smushed over. So the side you wanna put in would be the not smushed over side. We'll go in a little easier. Just kind of tap that in gently. And coming through, and then you can also kind of give it a little bit with something smaller to get it in there. Perfect. We're going to put our large sprocket on. And we're just gonna get that face flush with the shaft. So this face here, flush right there. Close as we can. Tighten your set screws. Probably wouldn't be a horrible idea to use a little red Loctite. And then we're gonna take our drive assembly. Now, before we put it up there, we wanna show them that you have, these slots are offset. This one's closer to this lip, this one's farther away. And same thing, like if you get confused on what way up or down is, this carriage bolt hole is closer here. This one is farther away for there. Get that chain on. Get your holes in. Want to kind of get everything kind of loosely snugged up, and then just make sure your chain is tight before you crank everything down. I would say you want to just be on the loose side of tight. So you want to have your chain relatively tight, but not too crazy. Back it off just a little bit. Loose side of tight. Okay, so this thing would be operational like this. We just got to throw our chain guard down and we are all done. Chain guard goes on the inside. So our chain guard's on, everything is all connected back up. That concludes our install. This kit is available on our website, pushinds.com. Look forward to hearing from you. Thank you.